Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans alike, welcome to another edition of Bill Swirsky's Sports Talk Chicago, one of the couple, two, three best podcasts around. So sit back, grab yourself a cold one and a Polish sausage, park your keister in the French room, and listen to Bill Swirsky's Sports Talk Chicago.
In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs, and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose, as long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swirsky's Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swirsky's Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Bill Swirsky Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts, Alex and Sean. On this episode, we're going to be talking about the high of highs with the Chicago Bears, the low of low with the Chicago Cubs, and White Sox sandwiched in the middle. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Rockford Ice Hogs. If you're not familiar with the Rockford Ice Hogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You get to see the stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. The schedule is out. The season starts just in a couple of short weeks, so don't sleep on the Ice Hogs. Head on over to icehogs.com, pick up a hat, shirt, jersey, tickets, and more. Tell them Swirsky Sports sent you. Alex, my friend, how have you been?
I've been all right. When it comes to sports, kind of like you said, highs and lows. Speaking of hockey, we've had a few Blackhawks preseason games already, and I got to say, feels good to have hockey back.
It really does. It really feels good. I know last season probably left a bitter taste in everyone's mouth how things turned out, and it looked a little dark about our future. But I really think that things have turned around. I mean, not a complete 180, but a lot of things have been addressed. There's a lot of young talent. I think this is going to be a really fun team to watch and a team that can make some noise in the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. I felt a lot better when last season ended compared to the year before. I really did. Just because it looked like we were heading in a new direction. We saw what the players can do still that are still here. We saw career years from Taze and Kane. We are seeing right now, if you've watched any preseason hockey, we're seeing some of the young kids shine. If you look at that, the one kid, the defenseman, Boakfist, kid's got some talent.
He really does. I mean, there's a reason that the Blackhawks traded what people thought was their top minor league defenseman. They traded him because, you could bring something else in and you have somebody that you're very, very high on in Boakfist.
See, maybe I wasn't really watching him, but when they traded him away, I wasn't that upset because I was never overly impressed. I never saw anything terrible, but for all the hype that he was getting, I was just like, meh. So yeah, I like this Boakfist kid a lot.
Yeah, I really do. I think he's very talented, and it's a good sign when just randomly during the preseason, friends start texting you about him. They're like, "Hey, this kid looks real good." You're like, "Yup, there we go."
I mean, the thing about this Hawks team is, even if they're kind of a borderline playoff team right now, because you look at the national writers, you look at the media around hockey, people are not around hockey, are not very high on the Blackhawks, but it doesn't lack talent. The team does not lack talent. Does it lack a complete team? Yeah, because unfortunately the defense is probably still not going to be that good. It should be better than last year, but it's probably not going to be anything special. But you look at the forward depth that they have this year, it's as good as it's been in several years. You look at the goaltending tandem. If you have a healthy Corey Crawford and Robin Lehner, I mean, I think they're going to use that as a two-headed monster. You're not going to see one primary starter, one primary backup. I don't know about you, but I see a two-headed monster right there.
Well, you definitely will. And if, I don't expect Corey Crawford to be healthy the entire season because
And neither do I.
Because he hasn't been. And I mean, when was the last time he was healthy for the whole season? Didn't
When they
miss a
won the
big
Stanley
chunk.
Cup.
Yeah, so it's been a few years. Even in the Cup year, wasn't he out for a bit?
Well, he got shelled early on in the playoffs, and then Darling came in, and then when Darling ran out of steam, then Corey Crawford came in. That wasn't injury related. He might have been. I don't know. I'd have to look back at it.
What was the year he fell down the stairs at House of Blues and hurt himself?
What that was either 15 or the year after. It was one of those two. I can't remember exactly, but I remember when that happened. And then in 17, you really saw the concussion issues start to creep up, and then you saw it last year again. And then last year, you saw him look inconsistent when he came back. There were some games he was his normal self. Some games he clearly wasn't. At this point, with Corey Crawford, I'd be surprised to see him start more than 45 games.
That's reasonable. And with having Robin Leonard, that makes that nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's why that's one of the many reasons they signed him.
Yeah, last year you had some just real rough goaltending play, and you upgraded here. And you hopefully have you upgraded in twofold. One, your backup is better than anybody that was on your roster healthy last year, and Corey Crawford is back. So you've got two guys that are better. So all in all, you're much better as goaltender at the goaltender position. And as far as defense, you're right. I don't expect anything special from this Blackhawks team, but here's the thing is if you can take some minutes away from your older veterans, Seabrook and Keith, and both guys showed that they could do something in shorter spurts. It's when they were out there for an extended amount of time. I feel like overall, maybe they don't have as much top end talent, but I think from top to bottom, they're significantly better than they were last year. And hopefully some of these young guys can take some of those minutes away from Seabrook and Keith and have a benefit from that. And, what else? So, you see some better defensemen, the blue line play, you've got better goaltending, and you should be able to, stay in some games better than that.
Absolutely. You look at last year, you look at the goaltending last year. Corey Crawford, yeah, he barely led the goaltending in games played, but he only played 39 games. You had to go through 33 Cam Ward games. Now, Cam Ward, numbers are bad. They're really bad. But the defense was also really bad, and I thought at the beginning of the season, Cam Ward couldn't stop anything. But later in the season, he was playing a lot better. He was just peppered with nearly 50 shots a game. But I thought he played a lot better. But I feel much better regardless with a potentially healthy Corey Crawford and Robin Leonard. And the other question is Colin Delia really part of the future? Because there's a lot to work on there. You see flashes of the potential, but the rebound control is not very ideal for an NHL goaltender. And you saw that weird thing in several games of his where he made a terrific, unbelievable save, and then 30 seconds later would let in the softest goal. So you got to wonder what you have there. Unless Crawford gets hurt, he's probably going to be getting the hefty load in Rockford, I would imagine. So at least he could get some consistent playing time if he really is the real deal.
Yeah. And, we'll see what we have there. There's not a lot in the cupboard as far as the the goaltending goes in the minor leagues. So anybody that's got a shred of talent is going to get their fair shake, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And you look at Crawford and Leonard this year, you say, okay, this is not a long-term solution. This is literally for this year. It's you go beyond that and you wonder what you have. And that's where Colin Delia comes in. You know, you'll probably be in a situation in the future where you're going to have to trade or sign for somebody unless Colin Delia really is the real guy. But until that problem arises, I like our goaltending tandem as it is. I also really think that the Blackhawks benefit from having guys lower on the depth charts that have a bit more of a resume. You know, they made some smaller moves this offseason. You know, nothing big, but they got some NHL caliber players, depth guys. Obviously, no one top line quality, but you've seen the past few years where a lot of that depth has lacked, where it's borderline NHL guys. None of these signings are overly exciting, but at least they're established NHL veterans who aren't too old.
Right.
The one thing, though, I do worry about the Blackhawks is outside the defense. Stop me if you heard this before with the Chicago team, but they play in a pretty competitive division when you look at it.
They do. And if you... Sometimes it's going to be a good thing. You play up because you know that you're constantly in a dogfight. You're not playing down. Because if you do, you're getting run over right off the bat. So if you're constantly playing tough teams, knowing you have to come in night in, night out and keep playing, when you play weaker teams, you hope that just carries over and you're able to take care of those teams because you're constantly know, all right, I can't fall behind the other teams in my division, in my conference.
Yeah, it's a good point.
So, I mean, it doesn't make it any easier as far as those teams just aren't going to lose. But, if you've got the talent, sometimes it could just be a little added motivation. You don't slouch at all. No,
that's true. Looking at the division right now, you got the Avalanche, you got the Stars, you got the Wild, you got the Predators, you got St. Louis, you got the Jets. If I look at it right now, I'd say probably the teams I'd most be concerned about would be the Avalanche. A, because the Blackhawks never play against them very well, and B, that's an upcoming Avalanche team that's got a ton of talent, and they have the type of team that just can beat the Hawks. The other one is obviously the Preds. I think they're still one of the best teams in the division, though, some of those guys are starting to age. They've made a few shake-up moves, but they still should be good. The defending champion Blues, knock on wood, if I'm completely wrong about this, I think they're gonna come down to earth a bit. I mean that team was, they were already down to earth and they just came skyrocketing up. And I think they'll come down to, I mean, I don't think they'll be as bad as they were. Oh no.
Before January 1st last year.
No.
But they're not going to be as good as they were at the end of the year. They're somewhere in the middle. They're a good team. They're not a great team.
Right.
And they caught lightning in a bottle there to win.
Yeah, I mean, that was the definition of lightning in a bottle. And I'm not too worried about the Hawks beating them. And I also think the Jets are going to take a step back, too, because they've lost a couple of key players. I'm not really worried about the Wild. The Stars will do what they always do. They'll score a crap ton of goals. They'll score 9 goals and give up 8, and they'll be one of the lower seeds in the playoffs. You look at the scores they got. It's like, okay, they got Corey Perry and Joe Thornton. For many years, you'd say, holy crap, that's really good. This day and age, it's like, well, are they going to play their normal night games at 7 local time, or are they going to have to play earlier so that their free agent signings can get the early bird special and go to bed at 8?
Old man jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. I'm just curious of what the defensive pairings are going to be come regular season. Who makes the roster, who the pairings are. because they've got quite a few young, reasonably young, and some new defensemen. You still have Old Man Seabrook, Old Man Keith, Connor Murphy, Ali Mata, Calvin DeHaan, Eric Gustafson, Adam Bodquist, Carl Dahlstrom. Am I missing anybody?
I mean, those are the main guys you rattled off there. Did you mention DeHaan?
Yeah, DeHaan.
But isn't he hurt?
I don't know. I've only been watching bits and pieces so far the preseason.
I know Doc has been dealing with some injuries, but I don't even know if he's going to be NHL ready regardless.
So it's Doc got a concussion in the training camp festival.
The prospect tournament. Oh, I thought it was in the tournament.
No, I think it was in the training camp festival.
Ugh. Either way, that sucks.
Yeah, but so I don't know if he was ready. He's a big kid, so I think physically, he's not going to get beat up. He's not a little guy. He's over 6 foot tall. He's good physical shape. So, and he's definitely got the talent. You watch him out there, and he's really good. I just don't know if he's ready to throw him in there, especially when you're a team that's looking to compete. And it already looks like you've got 4 lines ready to play hockey. So, I don't know if you just throw him into that. If that's the best thing for him, it's the best thing for the Blackhawks. Well,
if he's not healthy, then I would say no.
If he's not healthy, 100% no. Even if he is healthy, I don't know. We're so close to the regular season. I just don't see how you could start him on, put him on the final roster for the big squad.
Yeah, you have for the first time in a while, the Hawks have a pretty big roster where guys making it and guys not making it may be a little bit more tough because, again, they have a lot more depth than they had in the past. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the final roster shapes up. I think we all have a pretty good idea of what it's going to look like. You have a lot of centers now. You really stacked up on the centers. You got Hendry Shaw back. Your wingers pretty set in place in your top few lines. You're going to have Kane. You're going to have Saad. You're going to have DeBrincat. So it'll be fun to watch, and they'll open up the season in the Czech Republic against the Flyers.
Mm-hmm.
You want to know one more thing that's crazy about the Hawks?
What?
That 2010 season was 10 years ago.
I know. It's a friend of mine just sent me pictures from the parade, and I was like, "Oh my God, we're both so young." I mean, he really is young.
Yeah.
He's only a little bit older than you, I think. But I guess he's older than that because he's like, he would have been like early 20s then. So he's like the early 30s now. So he's a few years on you, but still he's much younger than me. And I was like, man, I looked so young in that picture from the parade or the rally. And, I was like, I can't believe it's that long ago.
Yeah, isn't it crazy how time flies? What's also crazy is knowing that the 2010s are coming to an end. I'm starting kind of a project that I kind of want to get this show involved. Basically, it's one big Chicago sports decade in review. The best, the worst, the crazy, the weird. I want to do a lot of top 5 lists, so I figured I was going to run this by you, but I'll run it by on this show so our audience can hear and maybe be ready for it. I think towards the end of the year on this show, we should do a special show not only dedicated to that decade, but also get some guests on, like bring Big Dave on, C-Dub, and try to get some people together and really review this decade of Chicago sports. So what do you think of that idea?
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea.
So yeah, it's kind of a kind of a little project I'm starting. I think, I'm going to use this show as part of it. I'm going to write about it on some of my outlets. So it's going to be one big project, and I want to get as many people involved as possible. And the place I'd start is right here on this show, so we could actually talk about it.
Yeah, we'll have to start. We're coming to the end of the year, so we'll have to start thinking about who we want to bring on for guests. So many possibilities. So, man, this is a cool idea.
It'll be like a wedding. We'll start handing out the invitations.
we'll send the save the dates.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. I think this is going to be cool.
Absolutely.
So let's continue on this high note. The Chicago Bears went on a road game in the NFL and won by 2 touchdowns.
Clink, 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 clink.
Clink, clink. Let's put some more sugar in there. Clink, 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 clink. Sweeten that up with the wooden spoon. Clink, 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 clink. And then just chug it out of the jug.
Half of it gets on your shirt and soaks it.
My shirt is running down my chin. I'm dumping it on people's heads like it's Gatorade. Ants are coming all over the place because it's so much sugar.
The bees.
It was, in a lot of ways, it was a get right game. There was definitely a lot of good things, and we'll get to those. There was some things that still need to be cleaned up, worked on. But, overall, anytime you go on the road in the NFL and win a game, that's fantastic. You can't ever knock a road win in the NFL.
No, you can't.
And, we're sitting at 2-1 right now as Chicago Bears. And, you look at that first loss and you're like, man, that was bad. But you start watching, the Green Bay Packers are really putting together a nice season. They're still having some offensive struggles, but that defense is really damn good.
Yeah, it's worrying me a bit. If Aaron Rodgers has a legit defense again.
Hopefully he just starts getting a fist fight with his offensive or with his head coach, and then that blows up. But, we went into Denver, and I didn't look the stat up for myself, but I think Eddie Jackson was saying that they had won like 17 home games in a row in Denver.
Really?
That's what Eddie Jackson said. I didn't bother to look it up. It sounded like a good stat.
I think it was like openers or something, like Denver's home openers. They were like 17-1 in the past 18 years or something like that. Whatever.
They're a team that plays really well in Denver. And for the Bears to go into Denver and win, that was a good one. And then the Redskins hadn't won yet, but they'd played a, the tough part of their schedule is right now. They played the Eagles, they played the Cowboys, they played the Bears, and they got beat by all three. But the Bears did a lot of really good things. You saw Mitch Trubisky go 25 for 31, quarterback rating of over 116, 3 touchdowns. Those are things we had been looking for. We had been looking for Mitch Trubisky to take that step forward, throw a touchdown pass. And we got 3, and people are still bitching.
Well, I'll say that he wasn't perfect last night. There were still some overthrows that I didn't like to see, and frankly, that interception was just flat awful in the end zone. That really made me angry. There was no reason to even throw a pass in that situation, up 28-9 or whatever it was. But you do have to give him credit for the good he did do. That throw to Taylor Gabriel was probably one of the best throws he's ever made in the NFL. When he found a groove. He completed a lot of his passes. The offensive line started off really bad, but then it started to block for him, and you saw the results. You saw, again, how he's better outside the pocket. I don't think people are surprised by that at this point. Would I say it was a fantastic performance? No, but I'll definitely take the step forward. I will.
And I know I said I was never going to be an apologist for Mitch Trubisky again. And I'm just trying to be fair. You're right. That touch, the interception in the end zone.
Horrible.
I don't think it was not a bad decision. It wasn't and it wasn't the worst throw. The cornerback Norman made a really good play on that. I mean, he leapt up and got that. Is on those kind of throws, you need to throw it with a little more trajectory, and you have to throw it towards the back of the end zone. That's where that was. But it was an exceptional play to make the interception. I would have said 9 out of 10 times that probably just gets broken up. 1 out of 10 times intercepted, and it wasn't a bad decision because you did have your number one target open. It just, you got to make that throw. So I'm much happier if you miss a throw to get an interception rather than you make a bad decision. Because you go back and you're like, I can make that throw. I know I can make that throw. I made the right choice. I could make that throw. I just, I've got to work on my placement on that. When you make bad decisions are harder to clean up. So yeah, he did make a great throw there, but it was definitely the right decision. You had your best wide receiver, your number one target with space in the end zone. You got to go for that one.
Well, I mean, luckily it didn't really matter. It did kind of give them life a little bit, the Redskins, but the Bears defense was able to shut it down. But all in all, I think my favorite thing about the offense last night was I thought Matt Nagy's play calling was a lot better. We knew that Mitch was going to throw the ball a lot because the Redskins secondary is not very good. And then he finally incorporated Montgomery late in the game, and you saw what the kid can do, where he got the ball, pulled up, kind of stopped, and then quickly cut and got another, 15 yards off that. And you saw him bounce off guys, just moving the ball right along. One thing you can really say about that Bears game last night, outside of maybe 2 or 3 possessions, is whether or not they scored, they at least moved the ball downfield. I get it's against a bad Redskins team, but I think that doing that gives Nagy and the team a lot of confidence.
Yeah, it's, they did move the ball. I thought the play calling was better. My big concern with the team is the offensive line.
Yeah.
I don't think the offensive line is playing well at all.
No, it's not.
I mean, the Redskins defensive line was getting a lot of pressure on Mitch Trubisky.
Especially early on.
Yeah. And that caused a lot of the problems. Is I want to see what Mitch does when he has time, when he has, he's able to roll out on his own and not run for his life, when he's not got people hanging on him. I'm curious to see what he's going to do when he has a little bit of time. Now it's guys, the cornerbacks are able to have some tighter coverage because Mitch Trubisky doesn't have a lot of time to throw. You give him a little bit of time, those wide receivers can get a little bit of separation. Maybe we can see the more explosive plays.
Well, you did see last night when the line did start to play a little better and he had a little more time, he was able to connect with his guys downfield.
Right. But I just think there's this Redskins defensive line is not that good.
No, it's not.
They got a lot of pressures on Trubisky. And if you look the first 2 games of the season against the Eagles and against the Cowboys, they really got no pressure. No. As they got more sacks against Trubisky than twice as many sacks on Trubisky as they got in both of the first 2 games combined. So that I mean, I get it. The Cowboys have a very good offensive line, but the Eagles line is banged up and not as good as it used to be. So the Bears offensive line needs to step up. And honestly, I tweeted about this, and I got, I think a lot of people like the sentiment is I was a guy that was very pro putting James Daniels at center and Cody Whitehair, move him over to guard, because that's both of their natural positions. And part of me still likes James Daniels at center, because what was a big concern that we had with Trubisky last year? We all kept blaming him for the center exchanges.
Mm-hmm.
Have we had a bad center exchange yet this season?
Not that I've noticed.
No, because we got a real center in there, a guy that's played center. So everybody just wants to blame everything on Mitch Trubisky. Maybe some of those were his, but you had a guy that wasn't a center playing center. And Cody Whitehair is very, very good offensive lineman, and he played really well, but you're going to have to live with some of those exchange issues. You don't have those with Cody Whitehair. You don't have you don't have James Daniels stepping on the quarterback's foot coming out of the stands. Like those were things from an inexperienced center. Cody Whitehair playing center, you have to live with certain things. He's very smart. He knew the blocking schemes. He knew what to call. You got good production, but some of the exchanges weren't very good. And you had him several times stepping on the quarterback's foot and, ending a drive right there with essentially a sack, on your own account. You're not going to really have those with James Daniels, but James Daniels, you're seeing him making the wrong call at the offensive line. You're seeing him being late to come over and help. And a lot of times centers helping somebody, helping the guard. You're seeing him be late. And I think they're still learning.
The penalties too.
The penalties
are adding up.
The penalties aren't everybody. And I think that's a part of, of everybody being off a step. Because it's not a lot of false starts. There's holds and things like that. That's where I think people are late to their assignments and they're late to come over and help. So I'm a fan of them flipping back to the way they had it, putting Cody Whitehair back at center, putting James Daniels back at guard, just to see how that improves the offensive line from that tweak.
I'm sure Matt Nagy's thinking about it.
I mean, you've got an offensive line coach who's been around, and you hope that it's at least crossed his mind that that's a possibility, because you're not good in good play, and you really want to give your quarterback the opportunity to show what he can do. And you listen to crybaby negative Nancy's like David Haw, and they're just burying Mitch Trubisky. And you can't tell me a guy that made some of those throws that he made, some of those throws that he made last season, like that, some of the things he's done, you can't tell me that it's a fluke. Do I see Mitch Trubisky, being one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league? No. But I definitely see him in that next tier. He's not a bust. He's never going to be Pat Mahomes, but he's also not a bust either. And I think
you're being called Ryan Leaf and Jamarcus Russell. That's freaking unreal.
That's really disrespectful, because if you've watched those two play, they were terrible from the get-go.
Jamarcus Russell had the worst work ethic you can think of.
Right. It was terrible. I feel like a lot of these, I don't want to call them journalists, because they're really not. They're sensationalists. These talking heads, I feel like a lot of them want to sensationalize everything to get their name out there.
Of course.
It's not really about an honest assessment, because if it was, they would mean, how often do you ever hear about somebody talking about anything other than a guy being the greatest or being a bust? It's one or the other. There's
never an in between.
Most everybody is in between. You know, you look at guys like Lamar Jackson. Last year they beat him up. Oh my God, so terrible. And then he had a really good game against an absolutely abysmal Miami Dolphins team, and he is the next superstar of this league. And then you saw him play against, you know, another team that's good, and he didn't look that good. You know, he had a couple big plays, but that were just absolute sheer horseshoe up his ass luck. Like he threw into triple coverage against a guy and his wide receiver took it away from a defense. I don't know if you watched that game, literally took it away from a defensive back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if Mitch Trubisky would have thrown into triple coverage, even if he got the completion, people would have beat him up. This, you see, Mitch Trubisky, he just can't make good decisions. Bleh. And you had Lamar Jackson completed a pass where the wide receiver double hand extended his elbows, double hand shoved the defensive back out of the way to catch a Hail Mary on like a 4th and 20 or something. And you're like, how is that not a pass interference? Like the one that was called against the Bears in the Packers game, it was that they were like, that's absolutely pass interference. This was like 10 times more blatant and they didn't call it. And it was like, all right, you're giving him credit for that. So like, you know, it's just not fair or balanced. And, you know, Mitch Trubisky is the target, and Chicago sports media people really are some of the most negative people. Like they're not rah guys. They just look at any chance to beat up on any weakness they see. And, you know, it's almost impossible to listen to sports radio sometimes because you're like, oh, Mitch Trubisky this, Mitch Trubisky that, Mitch Trubisky this. Like, good God, you know, I get it. We could have had Pat Mahomes, but you know what? I'm
tired of hearing about that. I really am.
Do you think if everybody knew Pat Mahomes was going to be Pat Mahomes, do you think he would have gone 11th?
No.
He would have gone 1, and you would have had teams tanking to get him.
Of course.
So it was, you know, people beat up the Chiefs because they traded so much to go get him. They go pull the articles. They beat up Andy Reid. And you know what? Now that it succeeded, everybody forgot how much they gave up. So
nobody talks about it. Nobody.
You know, when you looked at these 3 quarterbacks, all of them coming out of college had a lot of pros, but they all had things that were question marks. Is Pat Mahomes, you were like, he's coming out of a system where he put up gaudy numbers, but that system produced how many quarterbacks with gaudy numbers? Like 12, and none of them panned out. They were all burnouts. So you're like, okay, well, is this guy another system quarterback putting up gaudy numbers in that same system? And I think everybody assumed that was the case. You looked at Deshaun Watson. He had 2 serious knee injuries, and he had a lot of interceptions thrown in college. You're like, okay, those are red flags. Sure, he was one. You're like, if this guy was healthy, you know, it'd be a little bit of a different situation. And then Mitch Trubisky in college was so super accurate. So you're like, okay, well, that's a lot we can build off of. So, you know, if you go look, it was kind of split across the board. Which of those 3 quarterbacks was the best? And
yeah, that's true.
And, you know, why can't there be a situation? Why does it have to be one of them sucks? You know, like, why can't it be, oh, hey, this was a really good quarterback class? Like, I don't understand it, you know, just because one guy is a superstar, you know, I just don't understand. And you don't have to compare, everybody. Be like, you got a guy, if Mitch Trubisky can win you football games, then you know what? That's who the guy you got. You got to deal with the situation you have. Hindsight's 2020. If we all could have hindsight, but at the present time, we would have Tom Brady, and we'd still have Tom Brady.
Yeah, I mean, those are all good points. I think it is fair that there are criticisms. I think it's fair that we want to see more from a second overall pick. I think it's fair that we can be concerned about a number of things, but I can at least say that Trubisky looked good when he needed to last night. I think that at least is a nice step in the right direction. How will he be against the Vikings? Well, we'll see, because that's a completely different animal. But that's hopefully it builds him a lot of confidence after a game like that.
And I'm not immune to criticism on Mitch Trubisky. I just want it to be constructive criticism and not complaining.
That's
and
fair.
Not negative Nancyism.
That's fair.
You listen to the Score Morning Show, and it's just, unfair criticism being leveled, and just from the hosts, from the callers, and you're like, that. It's a lot of it's just unfair. Is part of it is, did you see the offensive line play? All right, you got to account for that. When you beat up Mitch Trubisky, if they're having basically the same numbers that, the quarterback Dak Prescott had a week before against the same team, and you praised him about how amazing he was, but then you beat up Mitch Trubisky for having like the same numbers, doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of double standard in the NFL. It all depends on the name. If Drew Brees does that against the Redskins, everyone loves him. If it's Mitch Trubisky, the Redskins are bad.
And that's my point. Is if you tell me fair, you're like, you know what, that was a bad decision on his part. And you're like, and you show me, hey, look, in these situations, he's making bad decisions. Okay, now we can talk. But if you're like, this guy stinks, he's a loser, we should have had Pat Mahomes. All right, well then that's just, you're just being a baby now. There's a lot of things you can fairly criticize him for. It seems like the offense got too advanced for him, and it wasn't just him. The whole offense. You saw Matt Nagy getting bogged down too in week 1. Matt Nagy's play calling is getting better. Was terrible week 1, iffy week 2, much better week 3. You're still seeing problems on that offensive line, not just in pass protection. You're seeing, until the very end, you didn't see very many holes for the running back to go through.
No.
And, you're seeing some special. I think you've got a very good running back in David Montgomery.
Yes, you do.
That guy, has anybody brought him down on the first attempt of tackling?
No, there was a play last night where it took 5 guys to completely surround him, and he was still on his feet. The refs had to blow the whistle because he wasn't going anywhere, but he was still pumping his legs, moving.
Even if,
it was incredible.
Even there's times where he doesn't get any extra yardage, but he still breaks a tackle, and you're just like, my God! Imagine if you could give this guy a little bit of room.
The guy's like a pinball.
And I figured you would love the game last night because you got a lot more playing time for your man Cordero Patterson.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I wish he could have had a nice kick return, but they covered him pretty well. But yeah, it was nice seeing him being implemented into the offense. I really, hopefully he's okay with the concussion, but I loved seeing Taylor Gabriel getting heavily involved. You saw a couple of nice throws to Trey Burton. And I mean, Trey Burton wasn't like a huge, this is why they won, but it was at least nice to see him, be part of the offense this time. So that was good to see. It was a fun game, I'd say. It really was.
Yeah, there was a lot of really good things. And, there's still a lot of room to clean up. But you know what? All that matters right now is trying to stay healthy and getting wins. You're playing road games. Road games in the NFL are tough. What's the saying is win all your home games and win 50% of your road games, and you're a playoff team every year.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Bears coughed one up at home, but they're 2-0 on the road. So they're gonna have a lot more home games left to play. So it's all about I know it was kind of, we got annoyed with it when Lovey would say it, but you really got to look at it as 4 quarters, the season into 4 quarters. So, they're coming on the end of the first quarter of the season next week. So the first 4 games, if they can beat the Vikings, they're 3-1. That's a really good spot to be in. I know you got some tough games, but you're also catching some breaks too. The New Orleans game is one that you expected to be really tough, and not saying it's going to be an easy one now, but it's a whole lot easier when Drew Brees probably isn't going to be playing.
Yeah, that is a big break. That really is. I think this Vikings game is so important. This division is really tough. You need to take those games.
Yeah, I think this Vikings game is a really important one because, it's a division game, number one. That's always, and this is shaping up to be a really tough division.
Yes, it is.
You also, it's a division game. It's a conference game, and it's, this early part of the season is the easiest part of your schedule. You've just got to take advantage of the situation here. And it's a home game. You're in Chicago. So this is one of your home games, one of your 8 home games in the season. You've got to take advantage of those.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Before I wanted to talk about the defense, I just wanted to point something out really quick. The Bears going into yesterday's game had lost 13 of their last 15 to the Redskins. They hadn't won at FedEx Field. Back then it was a different name. They haven't won there since 2001. And they had lost 7 in a row. Their last win before yesterday against the Redskins was in 2003.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is. It is. But there's something really important I wanted to bring up about the defense. Really important. That's all I got to say.
This is why when we lost Adrian Amos, but we picked up Clinton-Dix, I was like, that's actually better. I not that I disliked Adrian Amos. I just felt he was a guy that did something where the statisticians fell in love with him, but the eyeball test, he was just kind of a guy. And he's showing, I guess, in Green Bay that he's more than just a guy, but he's also not an elite player. I feel like the Bears needed a guy that was a better coverage safety than Adrian Amos. And you saw the defense really step up once you got Eddie Jackson. Clinton-Dix is another coverage safety. You add him into the mix, and I think that you're seeing some really good play out of the defensive backs. You've got at least four guys in your defensive backs that can just come out and make a big interception. Eddie Jackson probably, honestly, I'd say Kyle Fuller probably your number one, Eddie Jackson too, but you could easily flip-flop those guys. Clinton-Dix showed you what he can do, and then when he gets it, he's definitely trying to take it to the house. And Prince Amukamara still has it, even though they are just hammering him with ticky-tack calls this season. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they have. Let's face it. I think what everyone loved the most last night was just watching Khalil Mack eat people again, because he was having Keenum for breakfast, lunch, and dinner last night.
Yeah, it wasn't as satisfying. I mean, he just wreaked havoc on the Broncos last week, but it was not satisfying because their offensive tackle just kept holding him, and they were throwing the flag. What do you have, 5 holding calls against him in one game, one guy? And so you're like, well, he just kept holding him. And so that's not as satisfying as actually getting to the quarterback. And this time you had Khalil Mack just getting to the quarterback. And I don't understand the Redskins thinking. They're like, yeah, let's have 2 tight ends block Khalil Mack. Well, that was working out for you.
There's something about Gruden's that are not very high on Khalil Mack for whatever reason, and it's paid off for the Bears.
Right? I really, really want to see Khalil Mack have like 6 sacks against the Raiders.
Oh, he is going to do everything he can to do that. You know it.
Yeah, so
he wants revenge.
You saw Khalil Mack look really good. You saw both linebackers looking really good, and
Danny Trevathan looked fantastic last night. He was all over.
He had my favorite non-touchdown play of the game, where he had that big sack, where he was blitzing, and then he took the step backwards. The guard, went to go double team somebody else, and then he just kept going in the same spot and totally faked that defense or offensive lineman out of his shorts. And
that is a veteran move right there by a linebacker.
Yeah, that was amazing. And I saw it happen live, and I was like, did he just do what I think he did? And then they showed the replay. I was like, it's even better in slow motion. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm watching it right now. I'm rewatching it right now on my phone.
It was such a good play.
And he had a wide open lane right to the quarterback. Wide open. He could have walked up to him.
And it's funny is the whole game, everybody kept praising Case Keenum. Case Keenum, the wily veteran. Case Keenum. Case Keenum. Case Keenum was a turnover machine last night.
Yes, he was. And you can thank pretty much everyone on that defense. He was under pressure. You can thank the front 7 for that. And you can thank the secondary for making the right plays, reading the ball correctly, and getting there. The pick 6 was great by Clinton-Dix, but I think I enjoyed watching him just with that second pick even more. The way he got to the ball, absolutely beautiful. Also, the Akeem Hicks strip, that was a thing of beauty. I mean, all those turnovers were great. Now, the funniest one was Case Keenum thinking that the first down marker was the goal line.
That was hilarious.
How does a veteran quarterback make that mistake?
I don't know. Nobody ripped him for that. Mitch Trubisky would have done that. Oh my God, you would have never heard the end of it. And yeah, he tried to just shove it over, and they were like, "Not today, son, not today." Boop, punch that out.
Yeah, I mean, it's not only did he not get it, he lost the ball.
Yep. And that was huge, because the end of the game, I don't know about you, I was really concerned that the Bears it was going to be another situation like the week before where you gave up that lead.
Yeah. Of course.
And I was very concerned, because at the end of the game, it just seemed like the Bears got tired, and they were giving up big plays. They were giving up lots of yards on the run.
That one speedy rookie was killing them.
He really was. And, the Bears just don't really believe in double teaming a guy. That's the one thing I do like about Bill Belichick, is he's going to take, like, what he would have done is he would have taken that guy away and said, beat us another way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
at least it wasn't Levy's cover Tampa 2.
Oh God, the cover none.
Did you hear about the Illini this weekend?
No.
They gave up nearly 700 yards to Nebraska. 700 yards.
Is Santa Beard going to get fired anytime?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be around much longer. Part of me blames him. Part of me doesn't. It's, the first few years, the guy didn't have any talent, but oh man, you give up 700 yards. There's no excuse for that.
You know what? It's a really tough job. I know you're going to be getting kids that are in the Big Ten, so, you're not going to get slouches, but when you're recruiting, you've got to recruit the bigger cities. You've got to get Chicago. You've got to get, and the problem is that Northwestern and Notre Dame and Michigan are all just as close. If, two of them are closer and one is equidistant. And so you've got 3 schools and, Madison is closer too. So you've got these schools that are closer
with a more recent track record of success.
Right. And, they're poaching those kids away. So you are not getting it's hard to get talent to go there. And if you don't, the thing is you've got to catch lightning in the bottle 1 year and then build off of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you turn things around. And they're not catching lightning in a bottle. And it's just, the more bad years they have in a row, the harder it is to get the top talent. Because if you're one of the top players in the country, why do you want to go to a school that you're just going to get beat up on?
Right. No, that's exactly the problem. And I don't see that changing for the Illini anytime soon, unfortunately.
Yeah. Would you rather be playing for a national championship and playing for a school where that you're probably going to get drafted 1 round ahead of where you should be because of the school you go to? That's most of these guys are trying to play for a career. So why wouldn't they want to go to a school that's going to maximize that ability? Because it's the best chance you have of making a lot of money is getting drafted early.
Yep. Anyway, that was my little Illini bit right there.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the defense. Yeah. I mean, at the end, we saw them, getting that young receiver, getting the ball out to him. He was making some great plays. You saw them getting a little bit of momentum on the run. You weren't getting as much.
Hicks got hurt. That hurt the team. Period.
Yeah. You weren't getting. They were quick throws, so you weren't getting the pressure in there, and they weren't playing, super tight man coverage. So it was getting really frustrating to watch. But you know what? Ultimately, when it came time, the Bears defense stepped up, got interceptions, got fumble recoveries, got strip sacks, and that really was the game changer there.
Yep. And to Case Keenum.
Good old Case Keenum.
And I like the guy. Like, don't get me wrong, I like Case Keenum, but it was nice to just destroy that offense last night.
Have we heard an update on Akeem Hicks yet?
Oh, I'm still waiting. I saw the video of him walking out of the stadium, and he was walking on his own.
Because I saw him walking off the field in a walking boot. They were like, he hurt his knee. And I was like,
yeah.
What does the walking boot do to his knee?
I don't know.
I'm looking at a quote from Matt Nagy. I really believe it's more just a wear and tear type thing. He just got a little bit sore Monday in the game. I think he'll be okay. At least we'll feel it out here in the next couple of days.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're going to really want Akeem Hicks in that Vikings game.
Yeah, you are. Because the thing is, the Vikings have a garbage quarterback. They have 2 really good wide receivers, but they've got a garbage quarterback. And
I don't know about stopping Dalvin Cook.
Right. And that's the thing is the reason that their offense has been playing well is because of Dalvin Cook. And what did Dalvin Cook do last year against the Bears?
Absolutely nothing.
He went nowhere. I think they held him to like 22 yards or something.
Yeah.
One game. So the Bears you bottle up Dalvin Cook and then you go after that statue of a quarterback.
You like that? Hey, speaking of Vikings, wasn't it something to see the rotting corpse of Adrian Peterson out there?
You know what? He didn't play bad.
He still looked like a rotting corpse to me when I saw him, but
that's compared to the guy was arguably one of the best running backs ever.
yeah.
And now he's 34 years old and he's still not when I saw that stat, he's not the oldest running back.
What is it?
Like,
is Gore still playing?
Gore is still playing and Shady McCoy is still playing.
Yeah.
Shady McCoy actually looked pretty good before he got injured on Sunday.
I didn't see any of the game, but good for him.
Yeah, I was watching that. I really wanted to watch the Chiefs game, and he was reunited with Andy Reid.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so Bears overall, we have Eddie Pinheiro miss a kick, but man, he was not looking so good walking. I saw him hobbling around the sidelines, hobbling in warm up. I'm shocked that they even went for any field goals.
I thought they were going to go for 2 more.
I thought they were going to go for 2 on all of them, and I thought they'd go for it on 4th down when they got into that field goal range. I don't know why they went for a long field goal. In week 1, they weren't going to go for that. And then when they're like, oh, we'll wait till our kicker's injured to go for that kick. I hope he's okay. They said it's a pinched nerve. Hopefully that's something that resolves itself because you really didn't need him in this game, but you're going to need him come the next couple weeks. You probably need him in that Vikings game. You're going to need him come the Eagles game, the Packers game, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely.
And where's that Bears schedule again? When do we face the Giants?
The Giants, that is November 24th, week 12.
Oh man, it's November 20th. That's going to be, we might still have no Saquon Barkley for that game.
We'll have to face the rookie QB though.
Yeah, they said he's going to be out. Saquon Barkley is going to be out about 2 months. So that would be like 2 months. So that's either going to be the game. He either is going to be back for that game or the Lions game. I'm not really worried, but it just makes things a lot easier when you don't have to face a tough running back like that.
Yeah, for sure.
When you could just tee off on your rookie quarterback and then have a field day with that garbage defense.
That would be the hope.
But it is making me feel better is because looking at the schedule before the season started, you were like Vikings, Saints, Chargers, Eagles, Rams. That's tough. You're like, okay, the Vikings I think are beatable. It's not going to be easy, but they're beatable. The Saints, much easier to do without Drew Brees. Still, they beat the Seahawks, but the Chargers, they don't look so hot.
No, they're pretty beatable, I'd say.
The Eagles definitely are not looking hot. Lions look good, which is adding a wrinkle to things. The Rams look good. Giants look terrible. Cowboys look good. Packers look good. And that Chiefs game is going to be tough, man.
Yeah.
I almost don't even want to watch that game because all you're going to do is hear the Bears could have had Pat Mahomes. Like, all right.
I'll watch that game on mute with no social media up.
Watch it. Listen on Hot Mic.
There you go.
Speaking of which, is you can listen to us on Hot Mic.
We'll have all your meatball needs.
Meatball. We'll have spicy meatballs served up for everybody.
That's probably one of the games we should do so we don't have to deal with the national media.
Yeah, we'll just we'll mute ourselves. We'll have a redacted button. Anytime we need to say his name, we're like, oh, threw a nice pass there for a touchdown.
We'll, instead of the beep, we'll just have a really loud clink noise.
So yeah, hopefully come next week we got some health issues resolved. I doubt we have Taylor Gabriel because that concussion protocol usually at least a week. But sounds like nothing major with Akeem Hicks. Hopefully Eddie Pinero comes back healthy. And then we didn't see Bobby Massey play in the game, and it said illness, but then I was reading it's vertigo. And I never like to hear vertigo because that could be a lot of things.
Yeah.
Usually you just don't get a blind case of vertigo. You look back at in our Blackhawk history is, we had vertigo, and that was Corey Crawford with nasty concussions. And then we had vertigo, and it turned out to be, was it multiple sclerosis?
Yeah, something like that.
So you just get a little uneasy. I had vertigo once, and I was like, man, this is terrible. But it turned out to be West Nile virus. So
Ew.
it's just not just, oh, hey, I just had vertigo pop up. There's usually something else wrong with you. So hopefully it's something related to the flu or something like that, and we get Bobby Massey back because he's definitely a hell of a lot better than Cornelius Lucas.
Yeah, Bobby Massey, someone who got a lot of criticism early in his Bears tenure, really kind of stepped up the past few years. You want that there.
Yeah, absolutely. So should we wrap this up with talking about puke? So the Cubs, they were in the second wild card and inching towards that first wild card because we didn't think they could get, because the Nationals were in a little bit of a slump there. And you still had your sights set on winning the division. It was still in your grasp with 7 games left against the team ahead of you. And to make it more in your favor is the team that was fighting you the most for that wild card spot lost their best player to a broken kneecap for the season.
Yep, and look what's happening.
You have 4 games set in your stadium where you're supposed to play so much better. You're not playing on the road where you have all the struggles. You are playing 4 games at home, and you could walk away from that series in first place with 6 games left. You could really start cementing your position in the postseason with this one series. And you basically, in front of 40,000 people, pulled down your pants and pooped on second base.
That might have been the worst sweep at Wrigley Field in a very long time. That might have been the most deflating baseball I have seen since 2004. If you don't count the 2008 playoffs, I mean, that's a whole other animal, but I'm talking end of the regular season, non-playoffs. You come back epically in the 9th inning, immediately give it away. Just like every freaking game this year. As soon as the Cubs do something good, they fuck it up. Every single time. You did that in game 1. Game 2, you strand a freaking small country on the bases. You lose 2-1. Game 3, back-to-back home runs, and I'm sorry, Craig Kimbrell should not have been back. He should have been shut down. Enough is enough. I don't want to see him pitch another inning this season. And then in game 4, wouldn't you know, fly ball off Almora's glove, and then immediately the Cardinals take the lead. Yu Darvish freaking slams his fist into his locker from the frustration after pitching another gem. It's ridiculous. It is beyond ridiculous. And you get Anthony Rizzo coming back on one leg, hitting better than pretty much everybody on this team. Everything that can go wrong has gone wrong. And frankly, I don't know why Rizzo is even still playing right now. If it were up to me, Bryant, Rizzo, Kimbrel, Baez would all be shut down right now because this team is done. There is zero chance to get into the wild card at this point. You've been eliminated from winning the division. Your only bright spot the past month was sweeping a helpless Pirates team. Other than that, you lost 3-4 Milwaukee. You split against the Padres team. You should have won that series. You lost 2-3 to the Reds. You got swept by the Cardinals. And right now in Pittsburgh, Kyle Hendricks, who was once throwing a no-hitter, gave up 5 or 6 straight hits, and now they're losing. This is a collapse like we have not seen in a very, very long time. And look, one thing's for sure. There are going to be a lot of changes next year. I don't know where you're going to make these changes. I really don't. It's hard to shake this up. It really is. But in my opinion, I think there's less than a 5% chance Madden is back next year. He's pretty much gone. And frankly, I think he knows it. I think he's checked out, if you want my personal opinion. There's going to be big changes. And we are sitting here 2 years in a row at the end of the regular season in what is supposed to be this big championship window saying what happened.
I think we're going to get a hard-nosed manager in next year. We've had how many years of Joe's, clowns and pony shows, and I think we're going to get somebody in there that's going to hold people accountable. I know a lot of people are throwing this blame on the front office, and there's blame to be spread everywhere. But honestly, I don't know what I hold Jed and Theo super responsible for. Is you needed a closer. They brought in a closer. They've got all-stars at third, short second, catcher, first baseman, right field, pitcher. You've got all-stars at every position. They're not playing well. You've got a manager who, is making a lot of gaffes. You have mental mistakes up the wazoo. There's so many base running gaffes this year.
Errors, base running gaffes. It's every game.
Fielding errors like crazy. Running gaffes.
Just now, runs just scored on the Cubs' 4th error of the night. 4. It's not even the 8th inning.
Yeah, you can't have this and win. And honestly, the Cubs are a home run or bust team. And it's things got to change. Kevin Youkilis came out and was talking about how he's against the uppercut swings because it makes one-dimensional hitters. And I heard him, because that is absolutely true. Sure, the home runs are up, but man, it's hard to live and die by the home run, because
you need some more contact, because with the home run they're one of the worst contact teams in the league. That's a problem.
It's a big problem, and it's frustrating, and I don't know how to handle that. The way that this team is built. You got a guy on third with less than 2 outs, and you can't bring him home because you're strikeout or ground out, and neither one of those is bringing it home. You need a guy that's a contact hitter to drive in those runs. And I hate to be the one to say it, I don't see Nick Castellanos coming back next year.
Yeah, I'd love him back, but I'm not really holding my breath, really.
And
I don't know what they're going to do, man. What do you do? If you're going to try to trade guys for value, some of these position players may be valuable to your team, but they're not going to garner a big capital via trade. I don't know.
I mean, you're getting nothing for Addison Russell. Nothing.
You might get like some dehydrated puke on a sidewalk.
Yes. Not even people puke. It's going to be like raccoon puke that you don't know if it's got rabies or worms or something.
It's sizzling.
I mean, you might get like a middle reliever for Ian Happ, but you're not getting a high leverage guy, and you're not getting a starter. You're getting nothing for Albert Almora.
No.
You might get a little bit of return for Schwarber, but do you want to trade him?
He's been one of your best hitters this second half.
Right. You've gotten good play from Jason Hayward, and with his contract, you're not moving him. So honestly, do you trade Wilson Contreras?
I don't know.
You could probably get a whole lot for a catcher with a 900 OPS.
Yeah, but are teams worried about his injury issues?
I think when you see 900 OPS and a catcher who can catch every day, you go. And if you're the Cubs, you're like, well, I don't want to pay this guy because of that. That's honestly the only place I could see a realistic trade to liven things up. I don't know what else to do. It's Jed and Theo have a lot of work cut out for them this offseason.
And here's the other thing. Some people say, you know what, the peak has been reached. I don't want to see any more. Blow the team up. Here's the thing. The Cubs are not going to start a rebuild in the first year of a TV deal.
Yep, absolutely not.
That's not happening.
0% chance.
So cross that off your list. Boy, that TV deal would have been nice if it started after the World Series.
Yeah. It would be nice if I don't mean that you might be able to, but it'd be nice if you could get that like as a streaming app where you could pay a la carte and not have to have cable.
And every time you open up the app, there's a little like cartoon puke emoji at the bottom. So every time they make an error, you just press it and it goes, yeah.
But yeah, now my cable bill is going to go up, and it's already high. It's going to go up like $6 or $7 a month just for watching the Cubs suck. I don't know.
Man, it really is.
It's really depressing. I mean, it just. And here's the thing: is I don't know why we're depressed, because this team, I believe I heard the stat, since the end of May, this team is an under 500 team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ever since Addison Russell came back.
So this is just it has been a garbage team. And if you probably took out over the last 2 years, the last 2 full seasons, if you took out one, like a 1-2 week span of each season, you're probably a losing team.
Yeah. Yeah, you are. And,
that's hitters got to hit, pitchers got to pitch. These guys are getting paid a lot of money. Craig Kimbrell, 23 innings, 9 home runs.
So with Kimbrell, I'm gonna give him a chance to shut down, have a normal off season, get healthy again. I'm not gonna call that a complete. It was a bust this year, but I'm not ready to completely write that off just yet.
No, I'm not either.
But it was
especially.
bad.
I mean, you are locked into him, but it is bad, and we know that he was trending in the wrong direction. Last year, he wasn't what he was the previous years. So you're definitely not getting the guy that was 3 years ago, 4 years ago. But I think he's better than what we saw this year. And the Cubs just need to do a better job, get him healthy, and put him in the right spots. And you hope having a full off season, get healthy, get a training camp, get a spring training in him, that he comes back and gives you a better performance. You close those gaps on the home runs, and maybe you're a lot more productive.
If I'm reading this correctly, the Cubs just made error number 5.
How is that possible?
I'm not this. I'm going to do something I haven't done in pretty much my whole life. And I watched every game I could of the 2012 Cubs season. I'm just not even going to bother with any more of these games. I'm not even going to watch.
Yep. 5 errors. 1 run, 7 hits, 5 errors.
Cubs are good if you like puke.
That should be the motto on their t-shirt next year. That would be awesome if that was their t-shirt. I would totally buy that one.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I don't even know. I mean, there's a lot that needs to be fixed. You need to improve depth. And I know that's just like a vague term. People say, "Oh, depth," but you need a utility guy that can hit and come up and pinch hit and be a late inning guy that you can put in. You got to improve that bullpen from top to bottom. Just that bullpen's got to improve. You thought once they signed Craig Kimbrell that you would have 3 guys that you could, high leverage guys at least, and you ended up with none. You had none high leverage guys. You need a leadoff guy, and you need a better philosophy of hitting. This, you got to be line drive. I mean, you saw 2 guys that had really good seasons, and they weren't home run hitters I mean, Schwarber hit a lot of home runs, but he was at his best when he was going opposite field and when he was hitting line drives. You saw the best of Jason Hayward when he was hitting line drives. I want to see Nick Castellanos. He's the Cubs' best hitter. Line drives. And sure, sometimes these line drives, you get a little launch angle on them, they go out. But they're making contact. Line drive, make contact. And good things happen when you make contact with the ball.
Oh, now they're down 7-1 to the Pirates.
It's a good. I mean, it doesn't matter at this point because, sure, they weren't mathematically eliminated from the wild card, but they were all but. I think statistically they had like a 1% chance of making the postseason, and now it's just out the window. So lose, go ahead. What does it matter at this point? You're going to get swept by the Cardinals, and
no, you know what I think is going to happen? I think they'll beat the Cardinals in St. Louis when it's completely meaningless.
Would you rather, though, them get swept in Wrigley to knock them out a week in advance, or get swept at the Cardinals when it's down to the wire and they need to win those games to win the postseason?
Oh, that would have been hundreds times worse. That would have been like losing to them in the playoffs.
So, I mean, both of them are garbage. I just, honestly, now there's a week left in baseball, and I just can not tune out, but I don't care.
I don't either.
Accepted the fate that I mean, honestly, I accepted the fate after game 1 of that 4-game series against the Cardinals.
It was obvious. It was obvious it wasn't happening this year.
I was like, it's not happening, done. And I thought they would still, split that series, but still, after that first game, I was like, I think this is done. And Now there's a week left, or 5 games after tonight. I could just be like, okay, I don't have to get riled up about things. I don't have to get upset. I don't have to stat watch because it's over. And this window is rapidly closing unless you can do some great things in the off season.
Yep.
And
I kind of had a meatball thought I wanted to share with you.
Oh, I was going to do a meatball thought, so we can meatball thoughts all around. So you go with your meatball thought first.
Okay. After getting swept by the Cardinals, and this is someone who has always been pro Joe, I kind of wanted him to get the pink slip after that game just to send a damn message. Because, frankly, I feel like this franchise, this front office, ownership, everything, the past year has had absolutely no backbone whatsoever. I mean, you let things continue to happen the way they do. You preach sense of urgency and never show it. You continue to apologize for a domestic abuser. I show a little backbone and send a message. That was my meatball thought. Would it actually do anything? Probably not. Probably not, no. But I wanted to see some fire from this team before the season ended. And if that meant making a firing, then okay. And again, I love Joe Madden. I do. And I've loved his tenure here. He deserves nothing more than to be praised for being the manager that brought them a World Series. But when it's over, it's over. And the sooner you move on, the sooner you can progress. Because if there is one thing, especially in a day and age where sports is analyzed in such an advanced way, you have to adapt or die, and you have to do it quickly.
My meatball thought was actually surprisingly related to your meatball thought. It was not to fire Joe Madden after the game, even though I could be behind that. My meatball thought was, and this is something that I was against up until recently. Team David Ross for head coach or for manager next year. And here's my reason why. This team, it's for the same reason that you wanted them to send a message by firing Joe, is this team agreed. This team has no backbone. And David Ross held everybody accountable. He wasn't an ass kicker, like a Tony La Russa, where he was going to throw fits and yell at people. He was not a Bobby Knight, but he held everybody accountable as a teammate.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I don't care if he doesn't have experience. Is the guy played in the major leagues for how many years? He played professional baseball for how many years? You know how to do a double switch. You can do these things. And to be honest with you, in this day and age, most head coach or managers are puppets for the front office anyway. So I don't see why not. And he comes here and brings a little bit of toughness, but not over the top. Not that complete swing where you're like, oh, we have a complete players manager. Now we're going to a hard-nosed manager. Then we'll go to a players manager. He's a tough but fair, but he is that there's a time to have fun. There's a time to put our big boy pants on, and everybody better be accountable and do their jobs. And that's exactly what the Cubs need right now.
Yep, I agree.
So, so frustrating.
And plus, it sucks that you have to see. It sucks that you have to see the Madden era end like this. Like, not just being able to ride off into the sunset. It comes just in this disgusting fashion. But, the sad reality is a lot of great tenures in sports, a lot of great dynasties, a lot of them end pretty badly, pretty sad.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'll have plenty more thoughts next week when the season's officially over.
One White Sox thing I want to talk about is we are inching ever so close to a White Sox player winning the batting title.
Yes, we are. I think he's, a few points ahead of DJ LeMahieu?
I'm looking right now. In game is Tim Anderson tonight. Although the White Sox are getting blown out, he is 1 for 2 in batting .335. DJ LeMahieu right now is 0 for 3. He is down to .328. So that's a 7-point lead with, let's see. The White Sox game's in the 4th, so he'll probably get 2 more at bats. DJ LeMahieu's in the 7th. He'll probably get maybe 1 more. So you're probably looking at being 6 or 7 points up with 5 games left. That's a nice side lead. So I really hope we can see a Chicago player, a guy that caught a lot of flack early in his season or in his career, win the batting title. That would be a neat thing.
Yeah, that would be neat. Little nice ball on top.
And we also saw probably the rookie of the year with the White Sox. Eli Jimenez. I believe he just hit his 30th home run.
Did he tonight?
I think he did the other night. Didn't he hit his 30th?
Oh, I don't know. To be honest with you, I really haven't paid much attention lately to the White Sox.
Yeah, Sunday he hit his 30th home run of the season.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, that's a big number. So on the season, yeah, he's got 30 home runs, and 269 average, 317 on base, and 830 OPS, 30 home runs. It's a pretty solid rookie campaign.
Yeah, not too shabby.
So the White Sox realistically could wind up with back-to-back Rookie of the Year winners.
Yeah, I mean that'd be
Eloy this year and Robert next year, if they decide to bring him up. Oh my God, that is
another year in the minors, and Rick Hahn will say, "Oh yeah, he's just he's working on his he's batting like 400."
We internally we got some milestones that we want him to reach, and he's working towards those. Dude, the guy is the best hitter in the minor leagues. Bring him up. Your team is hot garbage, even though you've got a Cy Young candidate pitcher, the batting champion, and Rookie of the Year. Bring him up. Jeez Louise. It's ridiculous. Did you see what Daniel Palka's batting at this point?
No, what is he batting?
.070. He's batting 70. With a 70 slugging and a 224 OPS.
Yikes.
But don't worry. He's getting those much needed at-bats that Luis Robert could be having.
Hey, he technically has more MLB hits. If you want to look at it that way.
Yeah. By 2. Luis Robert could have more than that after his first game.
There you go.
All right. Is that going to do it for this episode?
Yeah, I think I've said my piece.
All right, so that's going to do it for this episode of Bill Swirsky Sports Talk Chicago. I want to thank everybody so much for listening. Please hit subscribe however you listen to podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, the TuneIn app, Google Play. Share this podcast with your friends. That's how we grow the podcast. Check us out on social media at ShyFanPat1, at Swirsky Sports, Facebook.com/Swirsky Sports, SwirskySports.com. And thank you guys so much for listening. And until next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like Denver New Yorkers. Smoking crack is not legal on the plains. Bears 31 to -7. The Bears. Oh, when the Bears go Bears.